Playboy sold innocence packaged as liberation, but what if it was also the most successful, discreet, and culturally protected brothel the elite has ever built? Playboy was started in December of 1953 when Marilyn Monroe graced the cover and centerfold, launching Hugh Hefner into fame. The first issue was an instant success, selling over 50,000 copies at only 50 cents a piece. Fun fact, Marilyn didn't even pose for Playboy. Hugh Hefner just found a photo shoot of Marilyn that he loved and thought was sexy, and he ended up using that as the cover and as the centerfold. Playboy was fashioned as a classy magazine for the everyday man. The women placed on the cover are the girls next door, innocent, beautiful, and ready to please. Hugh Hefner became revered as a pipe-smoking philosopher king of sexual freedom. He was an advocate for sexual liberation, anti-racial movement, giving Malcolm X and MLK, Martin Luther King, their own interviews when nobody really wanted to. Pro-abortion, because he doesn't want the mom next door, he wants the girl next door. I'm just kidding. By the early 60s, Playboy had taken off. Penthouses, gentlemen's clubs with club card access,
Lilu Dallas Multipass,
monthly magazines that highlighted a special girl, and of course, the articles and illustrations. Women felt that Hugh had given them a voice and a newfound power, letting them use their sexuality to achieve a higher purpose. By the 70s, it was the 9th most circulated magazine in the world. It said a quarter of college men had a subscription to Playboy in the 70s. I don't blame them. Women wanted to be in Hefner's presence and men wanted to be him. The Playboy Mansion reeked of aspiration, charm, humor, jazz, and sophistication for both men and women trying to get in. Even the public perception saw it as fun, harmless, and tasteful. They would throw lavish parties with invited special guests and make it fun with themed nights. It was the Disneyland of adult freedom for the elite. It also looked like Barbie's dream house for grown women. But once you were inside, playtime stopped being Barbie and Ken and started looking a lot more like inventory control. Now, the gates of the mansion didn't just let the privileged in. It also kept the playmates and the girlfriends from going out. Once you signed the glittery pink contract to stay with Hef, he would turn around and give you all the rules. Now, I'm sure the rules are in their contract. I honestly don't know. I was never given one. But when you're young and you know everything, what's the worst that could be in the fine print? Some of the most known rules consisted of the 9 p.m. strict curfew. You could not have brunette or red hair. You had to be blonde, specifically bleach blonde. You were not allowed to have bright nail colors nor French tips. They had to be neutral colors. You had to be completely hairless. According to Holly Madison, she recounts that Hugh Hefner would be upset if you were not shaved properly. Red lipstick was a huge no-no. He said it made him look like older, mature women. Every Friday, he would give $1,000 allowances to every girl. They had to be quiet when the men were speaking. No jobs outside of the mansion. Playboy was their job. No flirtatious encounters with men. No boyfriends. Hugh was your boyfriend. But were these rules? Or were they just the standards that kept the revolving door of politicians, billionaires, producers, and financiers coming back? Notable attendees ranged from Bill Cosby to Al Gore, Leonardo DiCaprio, Jack Nicholson, Quentin Tarantino, to Jerry Brown, the former governor of California. Elvis even had a room named after him because he slept with 8 girls in one night. Anyone that had clout attended, especially actors. Hugh was obsessed with Hollywood, especially like old Hollywood. In 2017, Rob Lowe recounted his first visit as a 19-year-old, saying Internet porn killed the business model, and reality TV killed the bunnies. And I actually agree with him. Women are the luxury item. Hef controls the supply. Elite guests are the demand. And Playboy, the mansion, is the broker. Access to women was framed as a perk, not a purchase. The brilliance of soft trafficking models. When you compare the mansion's structure to classic brothel economics, isolation, gatekeeping, curated beauty, controlled location for transactions, and pleasure disguised as networking, Rob Lowe isn't wrong. Technically, Playboy sales did start to decline due to porn on the internet. Now you had instant gratification and no waiting around for next month's subscription. Women didn't have to be the quiet girl next door anymore. Reality TV gave women a new voice and positioned them equal to, or even sometimes above men, not submissive. The mansion's unspoken function was meant to be private, high value, an invitation only playground for the elite. A brothel sells a service, Playboy sold a lifestyle that included the service. Jennifer Saganor breaks down how the numerical system worked for the girl. Girlfriends were considered tens, and they stayed in the house with Hefner. Nines were upcoming playmates that stayed in the bunny mansion on the property. Now, 7 and 8s, they're still gorgeous, so Hugh would send them to the mini mansions that are off the property. Keep all that in mind. I want to preface this with these are not official Playboy activities. I am just going off of what playmates have discussed over the years that have worked in high-end dating networks, or what acquaintances of Playboy have alluded to. In no way am I saying Playboy has committed these acts. So a single night for a typical wealthy man, producer, foreign buyer, or VIP clients, $5,000 to $25,000 a night. Those were typically the mini mansion prices. So you would be getting like 7s or 8s, which they still described as drop dead gorgeous. So it's like, anyways. For high net worth or international clients, they would pay $30,000 to $100,000 per night. This is where the Playmate of the Month would come in, depending on how in demand the Playmates were. Up the ante. For a weekend or multi-day arrangement, it would run between $50,000 to $250,000. Women would spend weekends at resorts, on private yachts, fly to Vegas, Miami, Dubai, and Monaco, and we all know what sick debauchery is happening in Dubai. Long-term companionship. For elite men who wanted exclusive access, $10,000 to $50,000 per month. And that is stipend. They would also receive gifts, shopping sprees, cars, and plastic surgery budgets in that as well. So it wasn't just like 10 grand for the month. You got all these other things with it. Some playmates, like Sandy Bentley, lived fully supported by a single wealthy man while still appearing to be Hef's girlfriend publicly. Although that didn't last long for Sandy Bentley. Hef broke up with her and her twin sister as soon as he found out. A few playmates have admitted that they were offered $200,000 to $500,000 for exclusive companionship to foreign royalty or business tycoons. Some accepted, some declined. All would have been presented publicly as models on a sponsored trip. The theme mansion parties, such as PJ Night or everyone's favorite, the Midsummer Night's Dream party. Wealthy men would pay anywhere from $15,000 to $75,000 just to get access. Their access didn't guarantee them anything, but it placed them on the curated environment where Playboy women were made available. And if this was the going rate on a normal night, you can probably only imagine the frenzy when a new Playmate of the Year debuted. Now, I don't know how you've never heard of of Playboy or Playmates or whatever, but if you haven't, you become Playmate of the Year by being one of the Playmates of the month first. You win Playmate of the Year by doing exactly what you're told, being a good girl, and bringing honor to Playboy and Hugh Hefner. It was the annual unveiling of Playboy's most valuable asset. In my head, this is not like an award ceremony. It's a high-stakes auction disguised as celebration. It positioned that woman as the premium listing for Playboy's catalog. It was presented as an achievement, a crown, and she would be rewarded with heavy promotions, prizes, cash, a new car, and a place in the highest proximity to the elite. The Playmate of the Year ceremony also consisted of price tables going anywhere from $25,000 to $250,000, allegedly. Sponsors would get proximity to Playmate, private photographs, one-on-one introductions, and VIP experiences. These were never billed as auctions, but functionally, the structure mirrored it. Now, this wasn't cheap, sleazy prostitution. This was elite, curated sexual access sold behind a velvet curtain of glamour and cultural legitimacy. I just imagine Hostel and a bunch of rich people like bidding on their phones. Instead of torture, you're getting sexual pleasure. The average American man bought the magazine for $5. The elite paid $50,000 for the woman on the cover. The Playmate of the Year title marked the pinnacle of the brand's promise. Parallel to that success are trajectories that are far more complicated. Anna Nicole Smith, Rebecca Armstrong, and Paige Young demonstrate just how divergent those paths could become. Anna Nicole Smith found herself on the cover of Playboy in 1992 under the alias Vicky Smith, which rocketed her into Guess's lap, giving her a massive gene campaign. Just a few months after her ad, she was in the headlines again for a drug overdose 4 months after River Phoenix died outside the Viper. Now, her pill addiction did start a few years prior when she got her breast implants done. She said they were super painful, and then she ended up getting addicted to all the pain pills they gave her. I recommend watching her documentary, Anna Nicole Smith, You Don't Know Me. The whole thing is honestly kind of just sad. You just kind of have to feel bad for her. 1993 rolls around and she lands the Playmate of the Year award. This really didn't do a whole lot of good for her though. She was almost instantly phased out of Playboy. Hugh actually ended up sending her down to the mini mansions, and Jennifer Saganor recalls seeing her entertain the men there. William Morris ended up dumping her as a client due to her drug addiction. Howard Stern went wild and made fun of her weight. Yeah, that was a wild moment. She ended up becoming a laughingstock everywhere she went, especially from her reality TV show. She was already a lost soul looking for love in all the wrong places, and I think Q just helped the confusion. He dangled the carrot, let her nibble, and when he thought she had enough, he got rid of her. Her name was never really restored in flashing light, and she kind of just bounced around media headlines until her death in 2007 when she overdosed from pills. The machine had ate her up and spit her out. But Anna wasn't the only woman the machine devoured. Paige Young was another. Paige Young was described as a happy, sweet, intelligent young lady with artistic talent. Although her art was not paying the bills, so she turned to modeling to make ends meet. She was eventually discovered by Playboy and became their Playmate of the Month in November 1968. This landed Paige a job as a hostess at the Playboy Club off of Sunset Strip, and during this time, she would continue to frequent the mansion. By 30, her modeling career was slowly dying out, but the trauma never left her. Paige shared with her neighbor all of her experiences at the mansion. She told Melanie Myers, allegedly, David Shane had recorded her one night having sex as she was afraid it would be used against her. Paige accused Hefner, John Huston, Huston, and Bill Cosby of raping and drugging her. Miss Young emphasized that Bill Cosby had done it on multiple occasions and would pay her for her silence, which led to her feeling confused and alone. She felt as if Hugh Hefner, the mansion, the high-profile guest, had removed the light from within and just left her with darkness. Paige Young ended up committing suicide on April 7th, 1974, from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. When Melanie Myers found her in her room, she claims that Paige had this mural from floor to ceiling of a ton of pictures of like Hugh Hefner, and then all this red writing everywhere that said, Hugh Hefner is the devil. She hoped it would stop other women from joining, but unfortunately, her story was just hidden away until 2014. Sandra Theodore, Christy Tom, Rebecca Armstrong, Susie Kraubacher, and many other women have come forward with their story. I recommend watching A&E's really well done documentary called Secrets of Playboy. It's just like non-stop testimonies of playmates and bunnies and what they endured while working for Playboy. For all the rumors, documentaries, and scattered testimonies, the full truth about Playboy remains deliberately out of reach. The institution was designed that way. Inside the mansion, loyalty wasn't encouraged, it was enforced. Women like Mary O'Connor, Hugh's closest confidant, and Marilyn Grabowski, who ran the magazine's visuals for decades, operated within a system where speaking against Hugh was unthinkable. Their careers, their homes, their identities were intertwined with protecting the brand and the man who built it, even if that meant turning a blind eye to all the women they were profiting off of. Beyond them were the higher-ranking employees, the celebrities, the executives, and the ultra-wealthy regulars had just as much to lose. The mansion's walls were lined with cameras before Epstein could even build his island. They captured every party, every encounter, and definitely every mistake. Surveillance wasn't a safety measure, it was a leverage. That's why so many stories have never surfaced. Not because nothing happened, but because the ecosystem was built airtight. Hefner's world wasn't just glamorous, it was also impenetrable. And the ones who knew the most were often the ones with the least freedom to speak. Not to mention the NDAs, the confidentiality agreements, and the cultural desire to keep the fantasy intact. The Playboy Bunny isn't just a logo, it is now one of the most recognizable sigils in American history. It is presented as sharp, bold, sophisticated, and is instantly decoded by anyone who sees it. That's exactly why it worked. America has always communicated power through symbols, the eagle, dollar sign, the flag, and Hefner understood that if he could create an icon that transcended his magazine, he would control something far more enduring than a media brand. He would control a cultural myth. The bunny became that myth. It represented glamour that you can never quite touch, sexuality that felt rebellious but packaged, and a promise of exclusivity that millions bought into without even stepping a foot inside the mansion. Once the bunny entered the American psyche, it stopped becoming a costume and became a signal. It was a marker for desirability, access, and male fantasy disguised as sophistication. Just like any powerful sigil, it protected the empire behind it. The image was so intoxicating that it distracted from the machinery operating underneath. All the surveillance, the exploitation, the hierarchy. The bunny became the velvet curtain. It drew attention while concealing the apparatus that made Playboy untouchable. That is the real genius of the Playboy Bunny. It didn't just sell magazines. It rewired a culture and shielded the organization behind it, keeping the truth locked behind the mansion walls. Playboy sold America a dream so beautiful, we forgot to ask who was paying the bill. Was it a brothel? Legally? No. Functionally, It was. You paid for the environment, not the act. While going through all my research to do this video, I came across why Hugh Hefner chose the bunny to be the logo for Playboy. Listen to this. This was published January 10th, 1967 in Look magazine by Italian journalist Oriana Fallaci. The rabbit, the bunny, in America has a sexual meaning, and I chose it because it's a fresh animal. Shy, vivacious, jumping, sexy. First it smells you, then it escapes, then it comes back, and you feel like caressing it, playing with it. A girl resembles a bunny, joyful, joking. Consider the girl we made popular, the Playmate of the Month. She is never sophisticated, a girl you cannot really have. She is young, healthy, simple girl, the girl next door. We are not interested in the mysterious, difficult women, the femme fatale who wears elegant underwear with lace, and she is sad and somehow mentally filthy. The Playboy girl has no lace, no underwear. She is naked, well washed with soap and water, and she is happy. Ugh. I'm not happy after I read that. Cut. It's fucking gross. Maybe Miami will be happy. Playboy is coming to town. The Miami Herald wrote in an article, the move by Playboy is game-changing. Miami Beach City Commissioner Joseph Magazine said Thursday in an interview with the Miami Herald, it shows that Miami Beach is truly reimagining our economy and focusing on economic development. By mid-2026, along with the office relocation, the company is developing a new Playboy club in Miami, including a world-class restaurant, along with an exclusive member-only space inspired by the storied Playboy mansion. Is it fucked up? I want to go. I just want to see. Especially if it's going to be like themed like old Hollywood. Like, I want to go. Only if it's like old Hollywood. Don't judge me. Now that Hugh Hefner's gone, is it a safe place for women to work? Do you think the same shenanigans are still being done behind the gates? Is your brain messed up and instantly thought about how they're moving near Disney World? And do you think they will have anything to do with Disney World? I'm just kidding. Don't sue me, Disney World. Disneyland, Disney. Don't sue me. I hope you enjoyed this video. I want to know your thoughts down below, especially if you have a Playboy story that's like fun, crazy, whatever you've seen. Please no, like, how do I say this nicely? No, like, jerking it stories. I don't want to hear those. I don't. No gooning stories, no first time, so I don't want any of those. I want, if you have a Playboy Mansion story or penthouse story, whatever kind of story, I want to hear them. If you made it this far, comment down below. I read it for the articles. All right, I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.